Hello. Let me know if the audio is okay. I recently got that new computer, so all of my settings are like wonktified. I have to reset everything. How do I do transitions again? Fade. Sounds good. Okay. Let me get this to be... Oh, that's whack. I gotta resize everything. Oh my god. I don't know, I'm just worried the music will be too loud. Is that okay? I'm always... I always feel like I can't find that balance. Okay, I won't touch it then. Okay, let's open up your file. There you are. And then let's get started. Happy holidays. Yay. Have you heard Chipotle is doing the buy one get one again tomorrow? So showing up with your ugly Swiss sweaters. Yes, apparently tomorrow after 4 p.m. Chipotle is doing a BOGO sale, so buy one entry get a free entry as long as you show up wearing like an ugly holiday sweater. So, you know, in this economy, last resort, Greta, you just draw a Santa Claus that's really ugly and stick it on with a pin. They can't deny you. In this economy. Exactly. Okay, let's talk about color and content-wise. Thank you for the reference. Let's see, what did you do? Color correction. Oh, why didn't you just do it the first place? I'm gonna... how do I do this? Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Where's the rendering? Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. I'm gonna go... Okay, I'm gonna merge these ones together, and then... This one's a light. That's the window. Where's your figure? Ah, there. I'll do one here. So I don't know if you've used masks before. I think it's very helpful, so you don't have to do everything, but I'm pretty sure Procreate has that option. I just don't know what the shortcuts are for them. But I'm sure if you just like right click or whatever and do like a mask, what's it called? Like a vector last mask or whatever, they'll have it. And the reason I didn't do that for the rendering is because I want to change the colors for those, and we'll do that manually. Where's my brush? Okay, so when it comes to the shadows, if you want to keep it more retro pop colors, I would suggest we don't do too gray of a color, because if you take a look at this one, it's a little too gray, especially for the skin. Instead, what you would want to do is push it a little bit more towards that pinkish color. Pink. If you don't want to do pink, you can always do purple, just as a compromise. And I'm not pushing the purple like too crazy far to the saturation. We're just keeping it still that sort of desaturated purple, but it's starting to feel a little bit warmer. And I do want to caution against you from doing such sharp cheekbones. Like, I know you want to give that girl structure, but when you do it so harsh of a line, she looks a lot older, a lot more gaunt. So you do want to soften that line a little bit, especially around the cheekbone. Do you see how that softer line makes her feel a little bit more youthful, a little bit more, you know, happy and living? You can keep these sharper shadows for, like, you know, underneath the head and stuff. Yes, you're giving to her too much bronzer, too much contour. She's giving Angelina Jolie in Maleficent. And then since you are gonna do shadows, we're gonna make sure that we extend the shadow a little bit. Let me see the reference. See, the shadow is closer to the eyebrow bone, especially if the light is coming from the top. And then again, let's push that more purple. I'm not doing too much purple, but because it is skin, we do have to push it more towards that warmer color, so it feels like there's blood underneath the skin. And oh boy, you don't know how many brushes you have until you delete your computer and restart the setup. My god, I had to search for all my brushes again. I was just about to say stop. Can I go back to my old computer? I know. The setup is so hard, but you know, if you want to upgrade to new equipment so that it works better for you, you just have to do it. Bite the bullet and do it. Okay, and then color-wise, I feel like you have to decide where you want your dominant light source to be. So you can either have the main light source be from outside, or you can have it from top, because otherwise it's going to get very, very confusing for the figure. If you want it to be this, to be brighter, then what we'll do is we're going to reduce the brightness of these lights right here, and then we're going to also add in, we're also going to add in a shadow tone. So in this case, we're just going to choose, you don't have to go that dark. You can go like this dark, right? Like we're trying to just keep it maybe something like this. That way it's going to read like, oh, this is that light source. And then let me erase for your lights. Yeah. When you do this type of light source, it's gonna give you a little bit more moody situation. So that means we'll have to add some stuff to the background, because when you're making this, like, you know, the main focus, it doesn't make sense for it to be empty. So some stuff that you can maybe do. Where is they? Where are they? There. So stuff that you can do, you can make it, I don't know, it could be a fantasy background, it could be like a cityscape that you like. But color-wise, you do want to keep it. Oh, what the heck am I? What? What the heck? Oh, that's so whack. Okay, I cannot. I guess I can't. The hell? Release skipping mess. Okay, yeah, I guess I can't. My bad. I guess I was trying to do too much. Okay, we'll take this color and we're just gonna drop it down a little bit, because you're trying to keep the general tone of the window the same, otherwise it's gonna look very disjointed. And if you remember with distance and atmosphere, the sky color tends to affect whatever object is outside, so you definitely don't want to just randomly smack a purple in there. It's gonna look really weird. Only time you might want to do purple is if it's super, super close to us, versus if it's farther away, you're just gonna want to maybe do more of a blue color. And maybe it's like one of those skyscraper cities. And you can keep it pretty simple. It doesn't have to be like crazy. Oops. Doesn't have to be like crazy detailed, but you definitely do need to do just a little bit. So that we can have something for the viewer's eyes to look at. And you can just start with some random shapes to feel out where you want those buildings to be. It doesn't have to be crazy detailed at the start. If you need some ideas, you can always take a look at some images of city lines. And you just want to kind of narrow it down for yourself. So do you want more of like a New York City line, more of a Asian city line, more of a London city line, etc., etc.? Because each one have its own like little personalities, flavor, if you want to call it. So New York City line. New York City line would look something more like this, where they have a lot more copy. They have a lot more of these, what do you call them? I already forgot all the art history I did. Whatever. But you get what I mean, right? Like, it's just there's less of these like tall all together, just same tall, but it's like different heights. Whereas if we're looking at somewhere like, say, Hong Kong, where's a good city line? I feel like these are not good pictures. Is that a good picture? No. Probably also because they don't have the same vibe. I mean, they're cities, but it's just slightly different. The way they do their colors, the way they do their billboards. I'm sure an architecture major skyline, maybe? You're absolutely correct. Maybe that would be better. Oh, yeah. Okay. They're similar, but with slight differences, right? Like, I don't know, just something about it is slightly different. Like, they're both just buildings. But I guess just the fact that the types of maybe they're like what they're surrounded by is just what it gives a difference. And also just the colors that they're using, right? Like for New York, you're usually associated with very like browns, earthy tones, whereas for like maybe for Hong Kong, it's more like blues and stuff since it is the city nearby the water. So it's up to you on what kind of skyline you want to do. But we both know that these cities are going to have layers, so you'll just do that layering effect. That is definitely not. I think that's like I think it's China or Hong Kong, honestly. I see Chinese on there, but I'm not 100% sure if it's China or Taiwan. Let's see. No, I think it's Japanese. Because there's Japanese. That's definitely a Japan subway. They even have the Japanese ads here. So yeah, we'll go for let's take a look at Japan's skyline then. And you don't have to stick to it too perfectly. You can also do more fantastical elements. Oh. Is that really Tokyo? Why is it so gentrified? Let's go for Tokyo, I guess. Tokyo. And then if it's Tokyo, I guess the most iconic would definitely be having, is that Mount Fuji? Doesn't feel right. If that's the case. Damn. Sounds like I need to get to Japan soon. Okay, let's shrink this baby down. So if you wanted, you could put a Mount Fuji in the background right here. Well, we are the artists. We can make it as big as we want it. So go wild, Greta. If you want to make it bigger than it actually is, you do that. Let me just add some textures. And I guess you could put I feel like the Tokyo Tower just looks so much like the Eiffel Tower, but who am I to say? So you'll basically just start with random cubes, random rectangles, layer them here and there. And you'll maybe break up some of the chunks, so maybe some of these buildings can say have these weird block sections. Like you'll notice these like skyscrapers, they're just broken up into weird sections sometimes. Or if you want, you can even make it jut out some more to vary the shapes. You can even put like a huge ass billboard right there. You could change the colors. So again, we're just gonna go lightly to kind of just keep it within that family. So it's not purely that purple. See the difference? It's more bluish purple. And then if you don't have a brush that does windows, you can do it the old-fashioned way. You're just going to take a color that's slightly darker. And you'll just get a blocky brush. You'll start by doing some straight lines. And you can make this one type of window if you want it like more of those, you know, the dotted windows. can start breaking it up. Oops. Let's find it, dot it. I don't quite have that right brush, but the old-fashioned way is just to kind of break it up. And you can just do it for a 1 if you wanted to, and then just, you know, repeat, duplicate, copy. Why don't I have that brush? Where is it? This one? Let's do it the other way I usually do it. I'm lazy, so I sometimes do windows like this. Because from far away, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't really end up mattering too much. And then you can adjust it slightly here and there. Ah! Just so that the windows don't look the same, you'll just do something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let's get that there, and then just duplicate it one more time. Very weird sounds. And then I believe there's some other methods where if you wanted to, you could just do it like light that baby up. I feel like it's still off. And then you just make it super, super tiny. And you just erase chunks to create little squares, and then we'll duplicate those. And then you just clean it up. Let's clean this baby up. And then in order to make the environment match those buildings, I think sometimes what they do is like they just add like a shadow closer to the bottom and they kind of brighten some of those windows near the top to get that kind of effect. And then just some of those here and there. Kind of looks like a convincing window, right? From far away, at least. If you feel like there's not enough windows, you can, of course. Duplicate it and just, you know, give yourself a few more windows. That's another style. Where's my line brush? My rake brush. There you go. Make it super, super tiny and we'll just make some windows for ourselves. Oops. Okay. And then you'll just add just a tiny bit of blur. Ah, not that much, just a little bit. Motion blur, where is it? So it looked like it's moving, right? So it's gonna give you that sense of something's there. Obviously you could add a few more buildings, a few more details if you wanted. You could add some clouds to break up a little bit more of it still. Oh, why is my brush so tiny? say the sky isn't just all blue and there's just a little bit more color. You could even add pink here and there. Where is it? Where is it? These are those pinks here and there. As if they're like cherry blossom trees, and make it more poppy. Clean up those shapes. And that way it's going to add a little bit more interest to your backgrounds. Alright, let's mess around with this color. Ah. And you're gonna want to maybe let a little bit of light come through between the legs so that it's gonna light up the shoes a little bit more, give you back some bounce go down here, and it'll look really, really nice. And again, because her arm is raised up, the light's gonna get caught here, so more light for you. I'll merge that down, and then we're gonna fix up some of these colors. So in the light area, because this light is like a teal color on the purple kind of background, it's gonna end up this kind of weird bluish color. So I'm just gonna exaggerate it and make it this kind of cool blue. And already it's immediately starting to read more as the light. Same for the hair. Hair is right here, so we're gonna go more blue. And let's also give her a little bit more volume. Where is that? Ah! Separate this layer. I'll separate this layer. And let's give her some more volume to her hair. And just to tie everything, I would just probably choose like a purplish color for the line work. Like your favorite kind of neon purple to help make it look less dull. Because when you use just black or gray, I think it doesn't match because the environment's so colorful, so poppy, right? And then let's change up the shadows because obviously she has light from the back, so she's not going to be in shadow there anymore. And we're gonna use like this really sort of purplish blue, but a very desaturated version. What brush did you use? Let's try to find a brush that looks sort of like yours. So you see she has the bigger fluff. I don't think you necessarily have to copy her hairstyle, but I will give her a little bit more volume on her head. And a little bit more volume on her bangs. And I'm gonna move the figure in front of the window. Okay, so hiding the light. Where are you? Hide that light. And then of course we're not gonna keep this color, because if it's white and this is such a blue strong light, it's gonna affect that white. So it's gonna become like almost basically the teal color, but a desaturated version of it, right? Because white is like the easiest to influence versus where your other colors are a little bit harder. And then let's also include back some of those shadows and think about the shape. Christmas. Where's my mouse? Let's think about the shape of the jacket itself. So you'll let it kind of roll down there. Give it a few S curves here and there just to fake it a little bit. Because no jacket, especially this kind of baggy jacket, wouldn't be perfectly straight here. So creating curves. And already just by creating these curves, it makes your jacket feel like it's actually wrinkled. Not even worrying about like those really dark shadows just yet. I do kind of want to help you understand how to draw the folds a little bit more clearly and what's going on. So let me make another layer. So what are the folds doing? How can you simplify this? Like not have to draw every single fold, right? So your main structure of the jacket is this sleeve, correct? Is this sleeve, and it's gonna hang down from the body. The main things that are happening here is that because it's so long, it's slouching near the bottom. So we definitely have to get this fold right here. And you can just keep this simple fold right here. And you'll create like a parenthesis shape. And because there's that parenthesis shape and there's that little cuff here, it's going to cause the fabric to bunch up this way. If you don't have that cuff, your fabric won't bunch up as much. It'd probably just be a little bit more relaxed like this. Be something more like this if it didn't have that weird cuff right here. Same idea for here. Your main curve, your main wrinkle is going to be this one near the elbow. And you can just add one more wrinkle right there to make it feel like it's actually wrinkling. And again, if you don't have a cuff right here like hers is doing, basically this thing is kind of strangling the jacket's life. You can just have it hang out like this and just give it like a little bump so it looks like the fabric is being super loosey-goosey. This side, because it's closer to the arm, it's going to stick. You're not going to have as much of a, you know, distance from the arm because you're kind of holding the arm this way, and the jacket's going to lean on it, versus this side doesn't have much for the jacket to lean on. So you might have something like that. And then if it's really, really baggy, then you're going to get like those weird wrinkles. Otherwise, it'll just be a straight cuff. But up to you, you can decide how baggy you want to make your jacket. If it's going to be baggy, then maybe you'll have that extra wrinkle right there. And this part right here, the wrinkle that happens here, you can just simplify it with one single wrinkle here, because this is the main wrinkle. So this is the fabric is tucking into the little collar of the jacket. We don't need to add too many wrinkles like right here. Right here, it's going to confuse you a lot more. So figure line. Let's clean up the shapes a little bit and make her jacket a little bit more baggy. So of course, baggy, and it doesn't have too much structure, so it's going to be straighter lines and less tight fitting. That way it's going to give you a little bit better of a silhouette too. If this is going to be a hoodie kind of vibe, you're going to be able to see a little bit more of the hoodie part in the back. And I'll tuck like that. And if you want, you can add a little wrinkle right there. I feel like the color's not right. What's the color? What the hell? Am I tripping? Oh my god. Current layer, right? No, I want all layers. What the hell? Oh my god, this brush has color mixing properties. What the hell? Okay, my bad. Okay. Then again, this is gonna be straight because it is baggy, and then when you're lifting it up, it's gonna tilt towards the direction that it's lifted up, so it's gonna follow the line of action. So we'll match that angle. And if you're gonna have it this long for the hoodie, I imagine it's probably not gonna be that short when she lifts it up. And you'll have it cut off right here at the shoulder. So like, if you think about like a baggy hoodie, the shoulder line right there, wherever the shoulder drops to, that would be where you're gonna put that line. So for baggy hoodies in this situation, it's gonna probably drop pretty low down the shoulder. And then I'll match that bagginess. Maybe I'll make it a little bit baggier because this feels very close to her arm. Same for over here, we'll make her jacket. So it feels like smaller cuff, wider sleeve. See how the jacket feels a little bit, reads more baggy? I mean, if you want that cuffed look at the bottom of the hoodie, you can just add a little bump like that. And then you can just draw the lines for the pockets. And then what I like to do to make it feel even baggier is I also extend that line towards the arm, so it feels like, oh, you're dragging all this fabric down because it's so baggy. What is that line? Oh, it's that line. Okay, and then let's fix the color here. So instead of using like that brown color, I'm gonna go for more of this desaturated purple blue color to make it clear that, oh heckin', this blue light is going to take over our lives. And then let's add some small touches of warmth. So you can do so just by doing a overlay slash, let's do a hard light layer, see if that works. And then won't go too bright because otherwise it's gonna make it look like a highlight. Instead, I just want to add some warmth back to her skin. And I'll go lightly, don't go too heavy-handed with it. So you focus on the cheeks, focus on the ears. Focus on her knees, of course, and her hands. Push down. And then I think you have a missed opportunity to add back some pinks in here, like some really vibrant pink. And that's with that sunglasses. You can change it, it doesn't have to be sunglasses. You could do you could do headphones for that lo-fi girl. You can do a hat, you could do some hair accessories. So like you put like a clip or whatever stickers on her hair to break up the monotony of her hair, so it kind of looks very Y2K girly pop, right? So some ideas. I'm not committing to any right now. And then I just want to make everything look very cohesive. Let's do some bounce light and color correct stuff. So let's bring this up. So with that light right there, we can make it a little bit brighter. Let's see. How does that work? What does pin light do? Don't know, but it looks cool. So I can make like maybe one or two of the lights a little bit brighter. But do you see how it's still not gonna match as bright as, say, this guy, right? This is a darker value. This is a brighter value. Warm tone lights, I would suggest you use the lasso tool in order to keep them really, really clean, because it's kind of important for that retro look to have a little bit more structure and for the shapes to be a little bit more geometric. Make that light a little bit skinnier. So you have some variety, it's not all the same. All right, and then let's mess around with the colors a little bit. Interesting, I don't have an idea what the hell pin light does. So I'll just mess around with the colors until I see what I want. Huh. Not sure how I feel about that. Where are the lights? Alright, and then just along the edge, let's apply that blue glow. Oops. We'll make sure to do that for those seats too. And it's starting to come together a little bit. If you would like, you can get rid of that light there. And just make this like a darker zone. That way your eyes will be drawn towards here and not up there. And then let's just add back some of those highlights that need to happen because it's getting affected by that window. The edge of the window, the edge of those doors. You could put a little window light like right there. This thing right here, this side divider gets a little bit of that light. And you could push that blue a little bit. Same for up here. Let's see how to do this. You're gonna get some of that bounce light. Maybe that way. Harder. I don't hate that, but I also don't love it. Maybe I'll just do a multiply layer. I feel like it's just not ideal. Okay, we'll just have to do this manually. Okay, yeah, you'll just do like a little bit of that blue bounce light. It doesn't have to be like crazy. Let's finish off those shadows. So again, that's gonna catch some of that bounce light. So it's gonna be bluer. But because it's still in shadow, it should still be somewhat dark. And these shadows, instead of doing that color, I would suggest you do more of this purplish bluish color to brighten everything up. Let's do a little bit of color saturation adjustment. Not that much. No, not this one. Color adjustment, color balance. There. So see how I kind of push this a little bit more purple? I don't know if that's something you like, but it will make the whole picture feel a little bit more purplish. And then let's adjust this also to be a little bit more pinkish color. Do you see how now it reads as this is a purple toned picture rather than randomly there's some yellow block in there? And that's because as you go towards purple from yellow, you don't want to go this way because again, this is going to be a long distance. A long distance to all the way purple versus if I go towards that reds, towards that pinks, it's going to be a little bit closer, easier to transition. Oh, what the hell? I had to get rid of that one because it doesn't make sense for this to be here anymore. Instead, if you want to add back some light, you can maybe make this map one of those like lit up ones. Okay, don't blame my map drawing skills. I'm just drawing some random ass map. Okay. Some shit like that. What is this supposed to be? And then let's do her favorite. And just give her slightly fuller lips. Ah, what is this? I'm in the wrong layer, no wonder. And we're gonna adjust her face a little bit to make it feel a little bit more cutesy. So when you have the jaws stick out in line with the cheekbone, she can look a little bit more masculine. So let me adjust those. And instead you can kind of push that chin back just a little bit. So she now feels a little bit more feminine. Make sure the ear's not humongous. It should line up with the nose. So if your nose is like right there, we gotta make sure we go higher up. Oops. There we go. Go away. Fix this first. Oh my god, what am I? I'm just gonna put some colors for her eyes so she doesn't look whack. There we go. Fix it. Then let's add some hair strands to break up that chunk of hair. And then I believe you were trying to make it look like she's looking up, so the best way to do that is to not have a line there. And use your shadows to help you do that work. Right, so now she actually looks like she's looking up, right? But I feel like her chin's too I made it too sharp. Let me fix that. Go back. Go back on that. There you go. Not so sharp, but you get the idea. Now she's gonna look up, less of that line. Where's my lights? Lights. Finish that up, and then I'll just do some textures, and I think you'll have a general idea of where to go. I don't know, maybe you could put like a exit light here. No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Exit. Exit sign. Yippee! But basically, since this is such a bright light, it's gonna catch like everywhere, I mean everywhere. Everywhere that's metal, everywhere that's shiny, it is going to catch it. So it might, you know, get reflected in the chair over here. I don't know, some shit over here. This color might get reflected onto here. I don't. Yeah, see, it gets reflected. So let's do that real quick. You're just gonna go ahead and take that color, go a little bit darker since this is such a dark color. And see how now that's getting caught in there. And again, some of that color gets reflected up here too. So all about those reflections, especially for these metal parts, okay, Greta? Some textures that you can consider have to make it feel more like manga is those screen tones that we've been using all along. Where are my screen tones though? If I could only find it. Where did I put it here? So just some textures here and there. Doesn't have to be crazy. Okay, so something like that. I might suggest you put like a design on her shirt so it's not so boring. You could put like a little cute bunny or some cartoon character. I don't know what I'm drawing. Cute. With little strawberries. Up to you, Greta. How cutesy do you want it is the question. And then let's push this more purple also. Yeah, the screen tones help tie it together. You can even use bigger screen tones. You could do as big as this, so like this big. You may need to make your own screen tones. I don't know why this brush is like so blurry. You could go something like this, or you can even just, you know, create dot 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 and then repeat it to create your own screen tone. But it's just something along the lines there, you know. Ah, not what I intended. So just something like that. Boop. Okay, so something like this, and so that hopefully that'll give you a direction of where to go. So before, after, now everything looks very blue purple tone. We have to shift a lot of the colors. So this yellow originally was like here, I think. So obviously this color is not going to vibe well with purple, because look at how far the distance is to purple going this way versus going this way. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save this unless we have some time. Let me see. I believe Misu had confusions about this month's challenge, shallots. So let's go ahead and open it up, see what's up with it. Let's see, where do I put it? Challenge. I'll just do one more example. Where's my line here? Okay, so basically I had a bunch of color schemes for you to choose. You can choose any one of these, or you can choose your favorite color. So say, I don't know, your favorite color is green, right? Maybe it's this green. Maybe it's this green. What I want you to decide is for the first part of the challenge. I believe I said, let me pull up the challenge examples specifically. Oh, I didn't update it on here. Okay, my bad. I'll go ahead and update the Discord. But basically, I think for the first one, you're gonna choose the complementary color and create a color palette out of this. Yes, so you'll choose a complementary color. So complementary of green is red, and because it's like a green bluish color, we're gonna aim for more of a pinkish reddish color. Now, depending on how you want to do this, you get to choose. Do you want this to be the light color or this to be the light color, right? If this is going to be the light color, then let's try to make sure that it stays more desaturated in that color palette. And we'll just add a darker color version of it. Add a slightly more saturated, and then let's start working our way towards each other, right? What is the best path to get to each other? So if I go from here this way, it is a little far, right? So what if we try to go this way? And maybe I'll replace that darker green. And if I do that, do you see how now everything kind of shifts? This color palette is no longer a green-red palette. It's more of a green-blue, green-purplish kind of palette. So your job is to decide how you want the direction of the palette to go. If you don't like that purplish color in there, of course, you can just do variations. Variations of more of these reddish colors, right? Trying to get towards our green. I'm gonna add more of these magenta-y colors. And you can just stick to maybe say these colors so far. And then maybe for this one, say I don't like how dark it is, right? I just want to make it a little bit brighter. Same goes for this pink. I'll make it a little bit darker so this pink can be our shadow color. So far this color palette looking whack. I know it's looking whack, but hear me out. You need something that's a little bit of pop color, right? So let me take away the blue because it's too similar to our other colors. This is where the time where you can add back, say, that pop of color from the other spectrum. So now, do you see that pop of really big saturation? That's gonna be our like key color. Now you're gonna use this color sparingly. We won't be using it that often. Other option is if you don't like that, we can shift the colors to be more green-purple combination, right? See how that slight shift in this tone made it more of that green-purple? And then maybe for our pop color, for that pop color, you can choose a brighter version of that darker color. All right, so those are two options. You can see slight differences depending on which one you want to lean towards. So this one has a more balanced tone, balanced palette, versus this one is leans more pinks. And the reason why you want your color palette, especially for when you're doing portraits, to lean more warm, it's just because your skin is warm, right? If you have too many cool colors, it can start feeling very depressing, very, you know, you're drowned out. So using this color palette, we'll go ahead and work on this portrait. So you can just choose one of your medium shades. So maybe for this particular case, I like this kind of green color, okay? So we'll just choose like a medium color. And for the sake of example, I'm not going to do this really prettily. I'm just going to get the colors in there so you can see how you might work your way around to creating the color palette and using these colors in that sense. Enter. Okay, and then you're going to first define where your light areas are. So let's see. Because I already did this example a few times, I'm just going to select the light areas so I can save myself some time. Obviously, if it's you, you're not going to do this. You'll actually paint the light areas. Okay, so let's keep it a little bit even brighter, a little bit less desaturated, because light tends to desaturate things. Only time it wouldn't be a desaturated light is if you're using a very strong colored light source. So if you wanted to do that, so say I wanted to do this, you know, green that we were using before, we're gonna have to make the other one more saturated in order for it to read as a shadow, because shadows are always more saturated than the light. Other option is you would change the color of the shadow in order for that light to pop, but for the sake of our exercise, we're not gonna try to change the color of this mid shade just yet. All right, let's start adding some more shadow colors. So in this case, our darkest color, we're gonna choose purple, and I'm gonna say this purple is our darkest because in contrast to green is like a medium, you know, it can lean warm or cool, First, and then pink is definitely a warm color, so we're gonna have to push a cooler color to be a shadow, so it reads as shadow. And these would be like your blacks, your really dark grays that you use this shadow color for. And what you can tell immediately is if I put a black and white filter, this is definitely darker, but it's not quite the darkest you want, right? And that's because the purple we chose is not exactly the darkest purple there exists, right? It sits pretty high up here in the value scale, so if you want it super, super dark, you would definitely gotta push it down a little bit more. And when you get darker, obviously you're gonna lose some of that color. Alright, so let's start transitioning from this green towards that purple. So I'm going to use a desaturated blue. Actually, let's use our magentas for those darkest areas. And because red and green are such harsh colors, they're absolute opposites, this is where that warmer color kind of comes in to help bridge the gap. So I'm using a not too saturated, but also not too bright kind of color to bridge the gap between green and red. So think rainbow. So like what's the next color, you know, next to green and red in between, right? In between red and green, there's orange, yellow. So you can choose one of those types of colors in order to help you bridge the gap. Do you see how that pink transitioning into that kind of yellowish greenish color now no longer, you know, looks so stark contrast? Pay attention to how that slider scale goes through. And we'll use that same kind of warmish color because I want to make sure that our lips and our nose gets more of that pinkish color. So that darkest color sits here in the neck, and then it gets warmer closer to where that light source is. And then there's your light color again. Now say this cheek is still supposedly warm, right? Like it's still not warm enough, you can push it towards that orange color. And while I say, you know, we had that color palette that we developed, I would say it's more of a guideline rather than a must use this color, right? It's just to give you an idea of like, okay, where are we gonna go towards? But so far it's reading as skin because we're using the colors, the color temperatures in the right way. So I'm gonna bring that coolness, so more of a cooler purple towards the front, because again our light is cool. Gonna keep that uniform. And then the back can, you know, be as dark as you want. Where's my brush? Where's my brush? Where's my brush? Ah, I'm blanking. Where's it? Ah, I don't even know where my brushes are anymore. There it is. And then I'm just gonna put an opposing warmer light in the back just to break up the chunk a little bit. Because I vibe like that. And then I would say for the eyes, I personally like the idea of a brighter eye, but if you prefer, you can obviously do like a darker eye like this, whatever color you want, as so long as it's not too similar to the skin, right? Just so it pops out more. But that's the general idea of how you would work your way around that color palette and create the colors for the skin. Then for the second part of the challenge, it's very similar. You're just going to instead let me hide this. We'll be using analogous colors. So instead of purple, what you'll do here is you're going to get rid of that purple. And you can go more of these colors. So you can choose this color palette, or you can go the opposite way. You can go the opposite way, but you can see how this kind of might read for a very cool toned character versus this one's gonna be more warm toned character, right? And the final one is you're going to choose any one of, you know, you can use this palette or you can use this palette, but you're going to make sure that you do all saturated or not saturated colors, and you just pay attention to the value of the colors. I find that the hardest is to do all the same saturation, because that's gonna test your knowledge of how do you control lights and dark in order for it to still read as a portrait with the right values, right? So you might do a color palette like this. Only thing I'm doing is going up and down. I don't go this left or right. So that's a color palette that you might consider using, okay? So it's all about giving you a chance to low stakes explore color. If you find out like, oh, I don't exactly like this color palette, then you can mess around, experiment, like, okay, why don't I like this color palette? Like, what color is not working? Is it because there's too much warm? Is it too much cools? Am I not doing enough dark colors? Am I choosing the wrong light color? Etc, etc. So I will call it for this stream for today. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday next week. And just about like 2 weeks left till the new year, which is crazy. So I will try to finish up that tutorial for you guys and maybe pump out a few more art stuff for the end of 2025. What a year, everyone. I hope this year has been interesting for your your art career moves. I wish I had made more art than I did, but life gets to you. And the stuff that I did make, I think it was pretty good. So, not gonna get so hung up on it. Have a great day, great evening, everyone. I'm gonna go eat dinner now. Bye bye.